Hey guys, it's Drew. So let's talk about going to Cuba. So I know most of you probably already saw the little after movie that I made. If you didn't, I'll try to link it in a card somewhere or link it in the description below. So let's first talk about how to get to Cuba, right? One thing to note, I am recording this video as of July 2017. So depending on when you're watching this video, you might want to just double check through a Google search or whatever to make sure that the information that I'm giving you is up to date. But if you're traveling around 2017, I think this information should be pretty relevant. All right, so really there's four main things that you need to actually just get into Cuba. The first thing you need is a passport, and this passport will need to be valid for after 6 months after your return, right? So that means if you're planning to return January 1st, your passport needs to be valid, I would say from June 2nd forward on from that year. So just one thing to think about. The other thing you need is medical insurance, which, believe it or not, most airline tickets will include in their price already when you buy your tickets online. If not, you'll probably just want to double check with the airline. But if you already have medical insurance, you probably won't need to pay the extra. I just know, like, when I flew with Spirit, they included it into their price ticket, into the price of the ticket. And so that was already taken care of. Now, the next thing you need to travel to Cuba is a visa. Now, as an American, the visa is actually very easy to obtain. There's a few different ways you could obtain it. You could buy it online at cubavisaservices.com. And that's actually how I got my visa, because I was a bit paranoid and I kind of just wanted to have everything ahead of time. So I went online and I bought mine. One thing to note, if you are planning to do that, go ahead and make sure you purchase a bit early. So that way you can avoid having to do like rush shipping or anything like that, right? So the other way to buy your visa is actually going to be to buy the visa at the airline gate itself, like right when you check in. So depending on what airline you fly with, the prices may vary. So I think with Spirit at the time I was traveling, it was like $100 for the visa. But if I had bought a ticket with United, it would have been $50. Or a ticket with American Airlines would have been another price. So you probably want to just check with the airline beforehand, but there's a lot of different options. You can get it at the gate with the airline itself. You can go to cubavisaservices.com online and buy it there as well. And so then once you have your medical insurance, which you should also get with your ticket, your passport is valid for 6 months after you return, and you have your visa, the only thing you need is to fill out this quick little questionnaire that you'll also get at the airport. And the questionnaire is it's gonna list 12 reasons as to why you are going to Cuba. And all you have to do is pick one, sign your name, hand it in, and that's it. So I know there's gonna be a whole bunch of questions about the latest Trump policy on Cuba. So the short answer to can you travel to Cuba still or not is yes. But how you do that just changes slightly. So do you remember a while back in the video, I told you that there were 12 reasons that you can select to travel to Cuba under? Well, under the new Trump policy, one of those reasons will no longer be eligible unless you get some sort of special approval. So that reason is people to people, or the educational reason for going. So if you were traveling under that reason, after mid-July, I believe, once the policy goes into effect, I'm not quite sure when, you won't be able you will no longer be able to go to Cuba under that reason. So all you would have to do is just select another reason. Journalism, support for the Cuban people, etc. As far as people that have already booked their trip, so if you have already either booked a hotel accommodation or booked a plane ticket, then you're still good. You can still travel to Cuba the way your trip is set up currently. It's only for people after this Trump policy has gone into effect who will no longer be allowed to travel under that one reason. So the other thing that changes is who you can do business with. So you can no longer do any kind of business transactions with entities that are run by the Cuban military. So for instance, there were a few hotels, for example, the Gaviota hotels, that you can no longer do business with under the new Trump policy. However, there are still many other hotels that are not run by the Cuban military that you can still do business with, as well as Airbnb, which is the option that I did. You can still do that as long as, like I said, you're not doing any business or transactions with tours, hotels, convenience stores, anything that is run by the Cuban military. So, with all those things, you'll actually technically be able to enter the country. You'll have your insurance, your passport, your visa, and what was the last thing? Insurance, passport, visa. Oh yeah, and you'll fill out that quick questionnaire at the airport. That's all you needed to get in. But there's a few other things you should know before you actually go. The first thing is your credit cards will not work. Your credit cards and your debit cards will not work in Cuba. So if you have a Visa, MasterCard, Discover, whatever it is, you will not be able to use that card in Cuba. So you're gonna wanna withdraw all of the cash that you think you will need for your entire trip and bring it with you. Another thing to note is if you're American and you go to the bank and you withdraw dollars, you'll probably want to convert those dollars to some other currency before actually bringing it with you to Cuba. And the reason for that is in Cuba, they actually tax 10% the conversion from US dollars to the Cuban peso, right? So what I did to avoid that is simply right when I withdrew my American dollars out of my bank, I converted it to euros and then brought the euros with me to Cuba. And then when I was in Cuba, I converted my euros into Cuban pesos, and that was that, right? The other thing you want to know is Wi-Fi. Now, the Wi-Fi situation is a bit strange in Cuba. They don't really have like little cafes, or even if you're staying in a hotel or at an Airbnb, you probably won't have Wi-Fi unless you're staying at like the Hotel Nacional, which is like a really fancy hotel in Cuba. But generally speaking, the Wi-Fi access points are in these little parks in Cuba. And what you'll have to do is you'll find one of these parks. They're usually quite easy to find if you're in like Havana. You can just walk around and I'm sure you'll bump into one. There are these little parks, and there are people at these parks that are actually selling these little Wi-Fi cards, if you will. And each card will be about $1 all the way up to $5 or pesos. And what you'll do is get the card, and each card will have some sort of time limit on there. So generally speaking, it's $1 for 1 hour of Wi-Fi. Now, I didn't do this because I didn't really feel the need to always be connected. I went down to Cuba for a couple of days, and it was actually nice to be disconnected. So I didn't bother using the Wi-Fi. From what I hear, the Wi-Fi isn't really all that good anyway. It's mainly suited for people that want to check emails or maybe get on WhatsApp and message their family members and things like that. But if you're looking to upload videos or pictures, it's probably doable, but it's probably also a really big headache to do with the slow Wi-Fi that you'll have while in Cuba. Well, that's it. That's all it really takes to get to Cuba. It's really not that difficult. You have those 4 things plus the little caveat with Trump, and that's it. You're in Cuba. But I hope this video was informative for you guys, and I hope you watch my next video about where exactly I went and how exactly I set up my trip. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.